On this episode of Hack Engineering, we got a whole pile of stuff that needs to go into the Astro. So I brought the junk. I've got an Astro with a drive shaft that we blew on the last Wisconsin Gambler. She kind of twisted herself up, and
yeah, the CV exploded.
It's been on a downhill slide for a while. It's a pretty high quality piece that we welded together in a parking lot with a stick welder. We've been using it about 3 to 4 years. Notched out the ends of the flange so that we could run it on our K1500 transfer case, and she's been doing four-wheel drive service for quite a while, and then behind a 350 after I hydrolocked the 4.3. So
yeah, so V8 4-low stock front drive shaft. It was going to fail at some point. I'm surprised it lasted 4,000 miles. And Colorado.
Yeah, it survived Colorado, so that was probably not very kind to it, but that blew, and then a few weeks later after we got back, I was just driving around kindly and
actually kindly
and blew the rear end. So at that point I didn't have a front drive shaft to get me home, or the rear drive shaft just kind of spins around, doesn't really do anything, which is an interesting failure for a 7.5, but
yeah, it's currently a no-wheel drive Astro van. But we're going to fix that with our rear axle that Ilya picked up out of another Astro. We're going to swap some brakes and backing plates and put all the good stuff from that axle onto this one. And this one has a pinion that isn't twisted off. So this will get the rear end going. And then I got to move this. We're also going to put on... I brought some torsion bars because the front right corner of the van sits a lot lower than the left front corner. And one of the torsion bars are known for breaking on these things in stock form, and we've pushed a little past stock form. So we got full-size truck torsion bars that we're going to try to graft on this thing somehow. They're 20 inches longer. Subframe isn't where these torsion bars are going to be, so we'll figure it out. Weld some metal in there, see what happens.
Yeah, nothing a plasma cutter and a welder won't fix.
We're also going to fix that twisted front drive shaft with full-size Chevy front drive shaft, but to get it to connect to the Astro front diff, because the full-size truck went flange yoke, and we need flange. So I got another drive shaft flange stick on here, and this nifty little adapter I machined up that allows the full-size Chevy drive shaft to connect to the Astro front differential, which means the next failure point is probably going to be that front diff, because I don't think this drive shaft is going to break.
They're pretty prone to failure even before you go to the 5.7. So.
Yeah, they're only a 7 1/4 diff.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's better than what we got. So
yeah,
little baby steps forward.
Guess we'll have 4-wheel drive again.
It'll be good. What else you got? E-brake cable.
Yeah, I got
a couple of U-joints.
Yeah, park brake cable U-joints, because we mangled one of the park brake cables, and we like to have a secondary set of brakes, because who knows when you're going to blow a brake line on something old and rusty.
Colorado was and we came in there prepared, but it was still a reminder why it's good to show up prepared, even to Gambler events. So
yeah, we used all of the power tools I brought with. Sawzall, grinder, drills. Yeah, we used everything to fix the van out in Colorado. That was just for a body mount. But I think that's pretty much everything that we're going to put on it.
Yeah, we got a couple of days that Trevor's down here visiting us, and we'll try to get it all in. So here we go. And now we pull out an axle.
All right, so we got the axle out of the van, and we found the failure. It wasn't the pinion, it turns out. We broke a spider. So spider snapped off, and ripped the splines off the end of the axle because the only part of the spider was engaging when it should have been a little bit more. So yeah, we still got to put the axle in, or the other axle in.
Now we'll just have a good spare passenger side axle.
Yeah, only a passenger side axle. This was not
And pinion.
And pinion. We got a ring too.
Ring.
It's only got like 300,000 miles on it.
Lincoln locker.
You know, I mean, it was already on its way to make a locker. If you had a few teeth rolling around in the spiders, and it'll lock right up. All right, so now we're gonna get backing plates off of this axle onto the other axle, so we can get that in the van. So maybe we can drive it someday. Soon.
Where those timbrins go? So one of our best back-saving features are these timbrins. I think they were for an F-250, but using them as overloads. Welded these spring pads on, and they have really helped the back health of our rear seat passengers. So,
well, we went from no bump stop and the axle just smashing into the unibody to marshmallow bump stops.
it's true. It's next level.
It really is.
The Rancho has also helped.
Oh,
It
yeah.
looks like even though we've bottomed it out continuously, those have held up for a little over a year now, I think. So, full-size Chevy pickup, some flavor.
Yeah, well, shocks with oil in them help. I mean, our old shock is right over here. This is one of our old shocks. As you can see, it had a little accident, and the oil is coming out of it. So, yeah, we're a little hard on things in this van.
Just a bit.
So we got the rear end in. Went pretty smoothly. Just had to replace brake line that was rotted out. Barely came out. So we figured we'd go to the easy part of putting in the new front drive shaft that we'd made an adapter for. In doing a little more investigation, found a bolt missing from our diff mount. So let's see, that probably caused the diff to twist and throw the angles off, at which point the drive shaft spit, destroyed the transmission linkage, punched a hole in the oil filter. We got that all trail fixed. So now looking at it, the engine was sitting on top of the axle when we went to put that bolt in. And
well, we also noticed in Colorado the fan hitting the fan shroud, and we now notice that we don't have a lower fan shroud anymore.
yeah, that makes awful noises. We got pieces missing from the blades. So 1 + 1 = 2, and we are one engine mount bolt down. Another is loose, and the third one has pretty much fallen out and is just staying there out of habit. So we're going to drop the front axle, lift the engine, put the mount on, and button it all back up so that hopefully we can get a front drive shaft in and get back to the four-wheel drive life that we enjoy so much. So
yeah, we want to point out under here, where all the broken stuff is.
Yeah, so that's our flange. That is our diff mount, which is no longer attached. That's our front axle, which the pan we're using is for a V8 S10 swap. I think it's a Moroso. It's definitely been custom clearanced by us to begin with, but it looks like it's been self-clearancing and now completely sitting on the oil pan, which it definitely wasn't before. So once we get that all back and together, you can kind of see up there the bolt that's there out of habit.
Yeah, there's the one that's still hanging on over there.
And that one's just hanging out because the bracket's under it. One is completely MIA, and the third one's pretty loose as well. So that's what we're trying to get to. Pretty well blocked from all angles by manifold, axle, steering components. So everything's saucy. Can't wait to dig in and get dirty on this one.
Oh, here, we can show the fan. What's left of the fan and shroud here. So that used to be a piece of plastic, and there's a few chips missing out of the blades because it made noise and then kind of went away, and then made some more noise, and the noise kind of went away, and then it made some more noise, and the noise kind of went away, and I think that coincided to the 3 bolts coming loose and falling out. Yeah, now it's time to get that diff out so we can put all the bolts back in. All right, so we got our engine mount reinstalled. We dropped the front diff to get enough clearance to bolt it in. And I was putting on a drive shaft adapter. And I needed to spin the pinion, so I was going to spin the tire to finish tightening the bolts. And, well, the tire don't turn. And the diff moves a lot when you try to turn the tire. So I have a feeling maybe that we exploded a spider on the driver's side of the diff, considering we did eject the drive shaft on the driver's side at one point. So now we get to pull the diff back out that we just put in and probably put in a new one. So I don't think we're going to get that done on this episode. So on the next one, we'll actually put the front drive shaft in. And yeah, the van will be ready to go for another adventure. So you thought the video was done, but it turns out we don't know what we're talking about. We thought the diff had exploded. It did not. What happened is with our high quality lift kit, we ended up over angling the axle and the CV was binding, which I can show you here. So we got the diff back in with some new seals. I've got it at full droop and it doesn't turn. So the way we're going to fix this is by limiting how far down it can go. So now it turns just fine. So we've got our limiter right here that we're going to put there. So when we let everything down, the wheel still spins. The van will have 4-wheel drive.
And that's why you don't listen to the internet when the internet tells you, just do a ball joint swap. It's an easy lift.
Well, it is an easy lift. We just eject drive shafts.
Yeah, so as a result of this little feature, we have now separated a shock. We tore apart a front driver shaft, half shaft, and we tore apart, twisted up a front drive shaft, which punched a hole in the oil filter, tore up the transmission linkage, and snapped a bolt on the front diff, which proceeded to, I don't know, eject Ojito.
I think the bolt on the front diff snapped when the drive shaft ejected. That's my guess.
Yeah.
That was a while ago, like 3 years ago.
So it's been 3 years of carnage, and we're gonna undo the thing that we did, which should hopefully, well, kind of. I mean, it's gonna stay.
We're gonna band-aid the thing that we did earlier instead of just undoing it and making it the right.
We're definitely treating the symptom, not the root cause, but it gets us more lift, so that makes it okay.
Yes. All about that travel. So this is the actual end of this episode. Next episode, we'll be working on torsion bars, the skid plate upgrades, maybe some subframe connectors, who knows.
And whatever else breaks.
Whatever else is broken. Turns out there's a lot of stuff that's broken. See you next time.